Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. So I'll talk about this underwater search and rescue. I have a serious problem in using the word rescue. I would like to use recovery because rescue is only on the surface. And since I work on underwater, and I also feel more than 24 hours or even less, there is no rescue possible, right? So if that is the case, but it is very important for you to recover either the body if the person could not be saved or anything else. So in that context, I want to give you the example which I have mentioned yesterday. MH370 was a very classic case. I mean, see, you have to also be ready to have the right kind of assets to carry out these operations, right? Now, what are those? We'll come to that. But MH370 was today everybody's talking about drones, even underwater drones are available, and you'll also get that fancy idea. Somebody will come and tell you, "Ki drone use karo." It's a very good, it's most optimum. I mean, like I told you, in this case, submarines were deployed, which is quite funny. I mean, there's a cost factor also, right? I mean, if you have multiple such accidents, what is the cost you are, going to incur in that? I mean, political aspect is different, but you have to make sure that you do the right thing. So now AUVs require a certain kind of inputs to deploy. So in MH370, I mean, one is the MH370, the political side of it is, it was a Malaysian airline which fell into the water or which met with an accident. 95% passengers are Chinese, right? These are facts. I mean, there's nothing that I'm trying to add anything to this. Now, who should be doing the search operation? Logic. Either China or Malaysia. I mean, if Malaysia says, I don't have the wherewithal, then let China do it. Who did it? Australia. The global effort, the entire resources was given to Australia to do the search. What does it tell you? And where was it done? It was done in Southern Indian Ocean. I mean, I don't want to, put a conspiracy theory to it. There are already too many of them. If you go on the net, there are a lot of stories floating. But there is a belief, I'm not kind of validating that belief, that where it was being searched, the aircraft was not there. And they could not find the aircraft. I mean, 6 years they did the search. They could not find the aircraft, right? I mean, Southern Indian Ocean, they did for 6 years, global assets were deployed to search. So when they had to deploy a AUV to search, they found out that there are not enough undersea maps. I mean, we don't call it map, we call it charts. Underwater, it is called charts. So above water, we call it maps. Underwater, it's called charts. So there were no charts of appropriate resolution to deploy AUVs. So they it took them 1 year to first develop. Now see, once you have a capability to develop AUVs, you can use it for anything. Yes, it can be deployed for military purpose, it can be deployed for finding fishes, or it can be deployed for anything in one. So now there is the global law governing how you will conduct yourself in the oceans, in the open oceans. It's called UNCLOS, United Nations Laws of the Seas, right? So Convention for Laws of the Seas, you are UNCLOS. So UNCLOS says that for research, you can carry out any kind of activity in the ocean. So the Chinese are doing this in the Indian Ocean, in our waters. They're saying we are doing it for research. I mean, the beach if you follow, you will find the controversy. Chinese research ships are, in the Indian Ocean and all that, and they will use every loophole. But now, once they have the data to deploy AUVs in our waters, can you tell them don't use it for military purpose? So this is strategic. When you build that strategic capability, then you are free to use it in your. So this is one aspect that you need to understand. So even if you have to deploy AUVs in freshwater systems, you need that data. Hydrographic data is required. We don't have it in river systems, right? So that's one part. And particularly the AN32 case is also a case study we need to understand. AN32 fell down into the sea. It was flying with 26 people, passengers on board, including naval civilians. I mean, we have civilians working in our bases, whether it is repair bases or even even our armament stores, there are civilians working for the Navy. So there were mostly, I don't think there were any uniformed person except for the pilots and others. 26 people were on board, and this aircraft was flying from Port Blair to Chennai, and it fell in between somewhere. So of course, 26 lives on board is a very serious issue. And if your body is not found, you don't get any benefits. You have to wait for 7 years. So it's a very serious problem for even whether uniformed or others. So finding the body is, the closure, as we say. So what happened was Navy put some 6 platforms, including a submarine, to find this. Now, if you look at this Indian Ocean region, there are places where it is some 6 kilometers depth, 5 to 6 kilometers depth. So if you just go by science, you will not find it using a submarine. Okay? But newspapers mein, TV channels mein aana chahiye na, that Government of India has deployed naval platforms, including submarine. So most of the people don't understand. See, here we are not trying to criticize anybody or make a political statement. I'm trying to give you a very fact-based and science-based reply. So AN32, then what happened is after 10-15 days of doing this, they did not find it, and then they gave this work to Reliance as a survey ship. So they gave them also a lot of money, and 15-20 din unko bhi aise mile to find this, and they couldn't find it. So end of it, if you do not do it correctly, you will not find it. So how can we do it correctly? See, we are trying to come to that. All this I said is not relevant. See, this is MH370, entire global effort was put for 6 years. Fugro put a couple of ships, Fugro put so many AUVs. Fugro is a very big company globally. Then there were so many, even I was in Tokyo at that time. Many researchers, so-called underwater researchers, were also called when we were offered funds to apply our minds and give solutions. And I was called not only for my capability, but being a naval officer and being a researcher. They said people also think that this is a way to get data. See, if I can tell you, suppose you are or scientific organizations, they may have some data, and in my over enthusiasm, I may seek some data on a personal. I know you. I say, "Arey, thoda data de do," and you will give. And so people try that. So one has to be very careful. I tell my team, don't touch data. Suppose you have come here, we get friendly, and I say, you say a problem. I said, okay, data bhej do, main kar dunga. You can't do it. I'm also requesting you to be very careful. Aap kahin phase ho, you are in a difficult situation, and you may just call me up and say, you think I can do it? Is it thoda aap help kar sakte hain kya? Maine kaha kar denge, aap data bhej do. Don't do that. Aap isme phas gaye to aapko koi nahi bacha sakta. You will straight away go to jail. You'll also go. You'll take me also to jail, and nobody can help you. I've had a PhD student who's now going to become an admiral. I told him, don't come to me with any data, because I don't even want somebody to even put an allegation that I have used data. Acha chal raha hai. You cannot, because this is a serious problem. So please be careful. Abhi tak kisi ko pata nahi, but jis din pata lagega, and and somebody wants to fix you. See, many times, particularly in services, we बहुत जल्दबाजी में बहुत कुछ करते हैं. But be very careful. And today the vigilance is, government knows more, has enough instruments to know what you have done. Whom are you talking to? When government has the wherewithal to find out if they. Yeah. Privacy nahi, but even on these issues, sometimes. Many times in our operational thing, we feel कि ये तो important नहीं है. Even noise is important. जो underwater आप कोई भी sensor लगाते हैं, you all have been operating certain equipments. Any data that is being collected by the equipment is a top secret data. Please be very clear on that. And मतलब कहीं भी without approval, irrespective, even if you head your organization, still you are not the competent authority to allow this data being shared. So be very careful on that, and please follow procedures to the T. मतलब कि permission मिल जाएगा हम दे देंगे, नहीं, permission मिलने के बाद ही देना है. Otherwise you will be in trouble. Even abhi search and rescue aapne sonar deploy kiya aur usme kuch data nikla, please don't share it with anybody. I mean, I am not going to accept, or this is my instruction to my team also, that we are not going to accept any data being with a proper, letter or with a proper approval. We are happy to. I mean, the biggest problem is इसमें competent authority भी define नहीं है. I mean, if you say you get into a problem, आपको search and recovery करना है, you want somebody to do data analysis, there is no way. Is NDRF authorized to share data? No. Ministry में जाना चाहिए, but ministry में भी कौन सा desk है वो आपको पता नहीं है. So this is a serious issue. So best is, I mean, what we say is that we will get an equipment, bring it to your organization, we will process it. 2 computer हम आपके पास छोड़ आएंगे. So that we will not carry this data out of your premises. You are responsible for this. That's the best thing. So that nobody can, I mean, uske liye bhi we will make a thing, and one person will be responsible by name in your organization. Suppose Mr. Kuldeep Singh is the officer in charge. He will be by name responsible for data security. And he will be personally responsible that data. So we'll come with an equipment, yeah, jo bhi hai, our computational, whether it is a computer or a server or whatever, we'll put it in your premises. You fund that cost of that thing and it will remain with you. I've done enough such work for the Navy. It will remain with you. After that, nobody can tell me that I have taken the data out. Not ki aapne pen drive mein de diya, or if you feed into my laptop and I carry that. That cannot happen. You should not do it. Irrespective of how senior you become in your, even admirals have been fixed for such a thing. So never do this. So in this, most important is,
so in today's world, when we are having so much of developed technology in the form of GPS, transporters, trackers, and whatnot, I mean, in both the cases, we did not have any trace of that digital signature that where that signal, I mean, went off or something like that. Okay, these 2 cases fine. What we have done now for the, I mean, God forbid, if anything happens, so do we have that kind of technology that, okay, that globally or using the electronic beams, the last location of that aircraft would be detected?
You answered a question in asking that question. ऐसा है ही नहीं. I mean, Subir Bhatia, who invented Hotmail, recently made a statement. इतना progress होने के बाद you don't have air to breathe, good, I mean, unadulterated food to eat and clean water to drink. So what are we talking about? So the same thing what you said, there is today so much surveillance. Even your car sitting here, you can check whether your car is safe or not. If you can trace this car, why can't you trace an aircraft? नहीं तो नहीं करना चाहते ना. If you, आप अगर यहाँ पे सोने की एक्टिंग करोगे तो मैं आपको जिंदगी भर नहीं उठा सकता. अगर आप एक्चुअली में सो रहे हो तो मैं आपको टैप करूंगा, आप उड़ जाओगे. Understand what I'm saying? So there's a larger geopolitics. I mean, इसमें देखो, there are enough conspiracy theory. If you get into that, today is not the time, but on a casual thing, we can discuss. There are enough conspiracy theories floating around why this has happened or why that has happened. But there are so many systems. There's a global monitoring system. 50 buoys are placed around the world. Any splash in the water can be picked up. And satellite coverage to sab kuch. Every inch of the ocean or the world is covered by, I mean, there are so many satellites. I mean, एक satellite में नहीं cover हो रहा तो दूसरे satellite में cover हो जाता है. So ऐसा नहीं है. If there is a global effort, there is no way that something cannot be traced. नहीं, N32 में भी कर सकते हैं. नहीं, N30 में, I mean, it depends on whether you want to raise the level, how much, because see, it's a naval aircraft. So you don't want to go beyond a certain, I mean, there are certain limitations. I mean, it's a naval aircraft, no? I mean, if you tell an American agency to investigate, then American agency will ask you all the data which they will get. So that is a limitation. मतलब आपको sometimes you have to अपने घर में ही सुलझाना पड़ता है ना. So this is a naval aircraft. So you don't want, अभी they will start asking you and वो जो नहीं चाहिए वो भी मांगेंगे वो. That's it. I mean, there are certain things, but we'll focus on that. technology part of it. अगर इसको करना है, we have to now see if you have been given a task, how will you do it is a thing. But to understand the importance, sometimes to know what are the possibilities also is important for you. So you may get stuck with a problem which may not be as important. So that's why I gave you a lot of things. So now there are two critical requirements. One is initiation of the SAR. I mean, so this, even without an incident happening, you should do this. And actually, if an incident happened, then operationally, if you deploy, this is what you have to do. So I'll differentiate the two. Now, initiation, now location. Now, what is your operational area? Agar aapke liye Brahmaputra or Teesta is your operational area. Now, you need to have the data for that place. Now, what is the data that you need? And who is going to give you that data? See, you as an organization, whether it is NDRF or BSF, you are not equipped to get that data. So you must know where that data comes from, which is a government agency. And you being a government institution, you have to first explore all government means. And wahan pe agar nahi hai, then you are permitted to go outside. Otherwise, you cannot. So there is an organization called INCOIS. Okay. INCOIS is in Hyderabad. This is the Ocean Information System. The INCOIS is in Hyderabad. They are a national agency under the Ministry of Earth Sciences to International Ocean Information Organization, right? ठीक है, ठीक बोल रहा हूँ, INCOIS. So INCOIS is an organization under Ministry of Earth Sciences, which is supposed to provide all kinds of data, right from satellite data to ocean data to earth sciences. I mean, when they say it's under earth sciences, तो आपको कोई भी data चाहिए, you must first approach them. If they have it, they will give you. If you don't have, then you have the means to. But ये इसके लिए you have to have a back-to-back tie-up with them. कि हमें ऐसा चाहिए आपको. I mean, what kind of current is there? In river system, Central Water Commission is also one of the agencies you can be in touch with. But देखिए अभी उनका काम कुछ और है, ये उनका काम नहीं है. तो वो डेटा आपके लिए suitable है नहीं है, वो आप जब, I mean, I always keep telling you, first you have to do, हम लोग drill करते हैं ना, drill क्यों करते हैं? Every compatibility is checked, right? I mean, वो अभी once you grow, पहले when I was a junior officer, I used to think why are we wasting our effort? But now you understand that every connection has to be checked. If it is not checked, then at the time of, because see, particularly when we are deployed, it's a question of life and death. So wahan pe, if you are not fully prepared, you may get into, it has to be part of your muscle memory. So these are organizations jahan se aapko data milega, right? But the second part is aapke paas wo assets hain kya, ye wala. And isme bhi, like if you say AUV aapke paas nahi hai for search, so who is supposed to have it? You have to identify that. There is an organization called National Institute of Ocean Technology. वो भी Ministry of Earth Sciences के under आता है. That's based in Chennai. Okay. Just I'll take quickly. So we have to make sure that AUVs, they have AUVs, they do operate, but whether they will be available for your work or not is something you need to look at, right? But they are supposed to provide you technology. अगर नहीं भी है तो they may be able to suggest how to do it, or they have, So the second part is, and then data को run करना पड़ेगा ना आपको. So as I told you yesterday, suppose there's an incident has happened. By the time you mobilize your asset, that target is not waiting for you. So you have to keep tracking that target. So you need a complete software. वहाँ पे MSP आपको काम आएगा. You need a software which will keep continue. You straight away put, I mean, your operational room has to just straight away put a pin there that this was the last known position, and then what is going on, you have to make sure that you have a. So now again, what kind of sonar, yesterday you were asking what kind of sonar, data, sonar se to nahi hoga, the data has to be acquired, then that data has to be processed, then infrastructure, wo kahan process karoge? Do you have a, tie up that online data will come? Jaise maine aapko INCOIS se bola, INCOIS se you have to have a dedicated, data coming all the time with you, or whatever. There are also privately owned satellite data available, which can be bought. We have been buying data and using. So you should also know kahan pe available, and you have to have a tie-up. You have to pay them. Monthly, they may charge you 10-15 lakhs for that data. So you have to have that infrastructure. Either you do it or you do it through some agency, right? And then vehicles to mount the sonars, and so actual jab aap deploy karoge, whether you need a platform, aapke paas, do you have that boat which will carry AUV? Also has to be carried with on something, or uska deployment, I mean AU depending on the size, can you just throw it? Two humans can pick it up and throw it, or it is bigger, it requires a winch, how to do it? So wo sara, that platform will have to be looked at, right? So it has to be kind of looked at, and then softwares jo bhi chahiye na, how to do that, and somebody has to have the communication also. I mean, communication is such an important thing for military operations. I mean, Navy and Coast Guard doesn't have compatibility in communication systems. Don't quote me. Okay. So data requirements में environmental parameters, wind, current, sound, velocity profile, sea surface parameters like temperature and more. This will be required. And physical parameters, bottom sediment type, bottom profile, depth of water column, distance from shore and more. All this is required. अभी तो आप sediment क्या है, उसमें आप क्या कर सकते हो? What kind of vehicles can you put? All that will be required. So these are some of the pictures to show what are these AUVs. I mean, there are certain AUVs which can just go, but there are certain AUVs which can grab the target and bring it up also, right? So, and platforms hai alag alag, jaise ye hai, there are different types of platforms. Like this can have a grabber also, that if it is a reasonable thing, it can grab it and bring it up. So you have to know what to, I mean, aapke requirements alag alag ho sakte hain. If it is just a recovering human body, it's a different requirement. But if it's something else, so you have to, आपका ऐसा भी हो सकता है, certain sector you have a different requirement, so you may have a centralized, so even that organizational structure has to be thought through, whether it will be, decentralized, or it will be a centralized thing which can be quickly, deployed. So all that mechanism has to be thought through, right? Then the search pattern. Now, if you talk about the ocean or even the river system, river mein, if you are talking about Brahmaputra, the flow is so high, in few hours it can flow to such a thing. But then there are simulations which can tell you where it will go, right? So, I mean, it's called Monte Carlo simulation. You can find out. So then you can pinpoint ki itne hi area mein ho sakta hai. Usme bhi, there may be, but you can definitely minimize the search area. And what kind of pattern, whether it is a raster scan or whatever scan, there are certain, wo technical cheeze hain, but wo usko, you can feed it into the AUV and it will do the search, and then you will be able to find the target. And there are different things, but kya karna hai, wo kisi ko to batana padega. Now, the problem is I mean, a vendor will come to you, I've got the solution, and he'll give it to you. But it should be the other way. You should formulate the problem, you should know what you want, and then find out who are the people who can give you the thing. Most of the cases, it happens that somebody comes to you and tells you, "Ki, I've got this, product," and you take the product. But it should be the other way. You have to first define your problem, and आपके अलग-अलग sectors में, अलग-अलग operations में, अलग-अलग requirements होंगी. So that has to be chronologically done, and that requires domain understanding. So policy, I mean, how to go for, I'll take 2 minutes. Policy में, एक तो आपके organization में, organizational structure is required, then उसकी क्या capability है, उसकी, what should be the structure, who will head it, whether it will be headed by a technical guy or a वो internal structure है. But then, how will you tie up with other organizations? जो अपने पास है तो है, जो नहीं है, then you'll have to have a, so this is all part of the policy. Then the technology part, I mean, technology and the resources, kya technology chahiye and how all that is done, and the human resource. So, you need to kind of take it forward in a step-by-step manner. Ye ek din ka nahi hai. Typically what happens is, an incident happens, then we wake up and we run around, and thode din ke baad wo thanda ho jata hai. But this has to be planned. I mean, jaise agar data nahi hai, at least DSF should flag, or NDR should flag to the government ki this is a thing, and that's how it happens. A user will tell the government, and government will find out. If you send it to the ministry, ministry will tell, somebody to do the job. I mean, Ministry of Earth Sciences is also are within the government resources. Nahi hai, the government can always hire somebody to do that. Now, in the short term, how will you hiring of equipment and platforms for immediate? So, if you start today, in a very short next 6 months, you need to. I mean, you can't say कि मैं 2 साल के बाद ही I'll attend to it. So there are agencies I gave you some names, or we can talk about it. So you need to have a short-term plan. In the next 6 to 1 year, this is what we are going to do. But in the midterm, you may have to start acquiring some of the things. You may have to, build a team also. Okay, training honi chahiye long term mein, then you have in-house everything. आपके platforms भी अपने हैं, depending on आपका क्या requirement है. अगर साल में एक बार इंसिडेंट होता है या 2 बार होता है, या यू हैव टू आल्सो प्रोजेक्ट. अभी आपकी फोर्स लेवल बढ़ रही है, आपकी डिप्लॉयमेंट बढ़ रही है, तो व्हाट विल बी द सिनेरियो विद दैट, यू मेक अ लॉन्ग टर्म प्लान, राइट? I mean, we don't have much time to discuss, but we can, if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer. So, and other things, pollution also becomes a problem, and like erosion is a problem. So those things, I mean, I don't want to get into that, but again, everything has the same process. आपको क्या policy चाहिए? Are you prepared? Do you have the technical wherewithal for that? Do you have the infrastructure for that? आपके लोग capacity है कि नहीं? Even policy maker को भी देखो, everything. I don't expect you to start. I mean, like Jay will be presenting हमने MSP बनाया कैसे? You don't have to worry कि बनाया कैसे. इसका मैं क्या use कर सकता हूँ? How I can use it is more important. You can hire young engineers, and you can outsource it to somebody, but जो core है वो आपको समझना है. नहीं तो लोग AI के नाम पे कुछ भी बोल के चले जाते हैं. That is not right. आपके data, many times you will find your data is not ready for AI, and you will pay lots of money to somebody to do AI. If you are not ready for AI, don't go for AI. So how will you get ready for it, right? So I think I'll stop here, and if any questions are there. I mean, अभी जैसे AIS data है platforms का, similar thing can also be done. जैसे अभी हमने एक tool बनाया है that जो sediment bed load prediction you can do based on the channel. So जैसे अभी ब्रह्मपुत्र का I told you 4000 meter lose करता है, तो there is a channel geometry है, तो उसको use करके हम मोटा-मोटा आपको बता सकते हैं कि this will be the sediment जो flow है वो ऐसा होगा. And then so you can find out कि monsoon में क्या flow होगा, उसका sediment कैसा होगा. तो बॉटम आपको पता लग जाएगा, तो ग्राउंडिंग आपको मालूम है कि आप कैसे अवॉइड कर सकते हैं. एंड ऑन टॉप ऑफ दैट देयर इज अ रिवर इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम, जो कोलिजन अवॉइडेंस. अभी कोई और शिप आ गया तो आप यू कैन हिट. तो ये दोनों को अगर हम एक प्लेटफॉर्म पे आपको देंगे, तो आपको एक छोटा यू विल हैव अ हैंड हेल्ड डिवाइस ऑन योर हैंड टू नेविगेट, व्हिच विल टेक केयर ऑफ बोथ. सो दीज आर नॉट डन बाय समबडी, बट वी हैव बीन वर्किंग ऑन दीज काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स. सो आई थिंक आई विल स्टॉप हियर.